What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Now, a lot of people reached out to me. Ego, did you hear the news? Top Rank is suing Al Haymon. Yes, I did hear. And I guess I want to do an in-depth video. That's why I didn't just hurry up and do a video, because I want to spend some time on this video. And the other thing is, it's not that surprising to me. Now, I consider life just like boxing. And a good skilled boxer will have the ability to telegraph punches, foreshadow movement and punches, and kind of the game plan of his opponent. And that's what I try to do and apply to life. And it's a bit of foreshadowing. And what I mean by this, a lot of people get mad, like, oh, stop saying I told you so. No. I mean, if I said I told you so and it's accurate, it is what it is. When I'm wrong, I get on here and I'll make a video saying I was wrong. But this whole Al Haymon unwinding situation with promoters suing him and stuff, I predicted this. And I want to give you a little snippet, and then I'll get into this video and kind of break down some points of interest to look at. So I made this video 1 year ago, a whole year ago. Richard Schaefer leaves Golden Boy. Welcome to the Cold War Part 2. And the videos are up. I didn't edit the title. For the people who were following my channel back then, you guys can attest to that. I don't delete videos. They're up. And we'll just see what I had to say in that particular video. So you guys were getting happy and tickled pink that the Cold War is coming to an end. Personally, I don't know what this does for boxing, and it could make matters worse. And the reason being because I don't know how everything is orchestrated. You have certain fighters that are actually signed to Golden Boy, and then you have guys that are signed with Al Haymon as the advisor. So it could have created, in essence, another Cold War. First, we're doing just Golden Boy as a whole, staff and as a imprint versus Top Rank. So now that De La Hoya had buried the hatchet with Arum, it looks like everything should be good. But this has been brewing in the background for a minute. There's lots of rumors. Now it's official. Richard Schaefer is leaving. I heard Schaefer is going to try to create his own imprint, his own company with Al Haymon. So that could further split boxing and still put us in the same fucking pickle, same predicament where we don't get certain fights, because Keith Thurman is not signed to Golden Boy, but he's signed with Al Haymon. So let's say we want to see Pacquiao and Keith Thurman, we might not be able to see that because Pacquiao's re-signed with Top Rank. And if Schaefer starts a company with Al Haymon and Schaefer's openly pretty much expressed disinterest in not wanting to work with Arum, which is part of the reason he's leaving, if not the whole reason he's leaving, because he doesn't want to work with Arum, and him and Haymon don't want to make the deal with Arum, only Bob Arum and Oscar De La Hoya are trying to make amends, then it gets us nowhere, because we won't be able to see fights like Keith Thurman versus Manny Pacquiao, or if there's a fighter like Sean Porter or something, we might not get to see him fight Ruslan Provodnikov or whoever, Danny Garcia. I don't know. Again, June 2nd, 2014. And it's the end of June right now, almost virtually a year ago. And immediately after the PBC structure was announced, I made this video 4 months ago. How Al Haymon is monopolizing boxing, new fights announced. And again, I'm not on here just arbitrarily bumping my gums, talking shit. February 17th. And they announced PBC structure like June 20th or something like that of this year. I seen this coming a mile away. Now let's get into the actual lawsuit. Now, before I get too involved in this video, I'm going to go in depth. I want to talk about what Top Rank they're suing for and kind of paraphrase and summarize. And also I'm going to give my thoughts on this video. Now, before I get into that aspect of it, some of you boxing fans are so emotional and emotional attached. You have favorite fighters. Therefore, anything they're connected to, you support, and anything that their rivals, any of their rivals, you hate them. So people hate Al Haymon, and they're gonna say, "Oh, you love Al Haymon." Al Haymon, Top Rank, Golden Boy, I don't care. None of them put any money in my bank account directly. You know what I'm saying? So I don't care. This has nothing to do with me. I'm just giving my honest breakdowns, and I know it's hard for some of you guys to understand that someone could be so honest where they really give their side and what they feel objectively, but it is what it is. Now, what Top Rank is doing, they're trying to sue, and I did videos about this. Oscar De La Hoya has already filed his lawsuit. It's not in motion in the courts yet, but he already filed for a lawsuit against Al Haymon. Now, Top Rank is joining, and it's basically very similar, But I think Top Rank's presentation, they have like a 50-page lawsuit and stuff. I think Top Rank, seeing how they're in the business and they've been in the business so long, theirs it's better prepared in my opinion. And I've never passed the bar exam and all this, but I know a thing or two about a thing or two in business in general. So what Top Rank is suggesting in their lawsuit is Al Haymon and his backers, his investors or whatever, Waddell and Reed, are cultivating this scheme to alienate everybody outside of their circle. That's basically what they're suggesting. And they're saying this is violating the Muhammad Ali Reform Act. And if you're not a part of that that circle, that movement, Premier Boxing Champs, Haymon Boxing, and anyone that has already established relationship with them, then they're trying to exile those companies like Jay-Z, Top Rank, Golden Boy, and keep them starving. So here's some of the terminology in their lawsuit. Forbidding boxers under contract to Haymon from being promoted by Top Rank and other promoters. Paying boxers not to spar with fighters promoted by Top Rank. Refusing to permit boxers to fight others not controlled by Haymon. Blocking Top Rank and other promoters from television opportunities. Preventing Top Rank and other promoters from access to major venues. Now, this is all fine and dandy. And again, I think Top Rank being in the business, having Bob Arum, who's been in the business since the Muhammad Ali days, is great. But I said this before on some of the previous videos, like with the Oscar De La Hoya suing Al Haymon. If you know anything about the U.S. judicial system, it's not about necessarily even right or wrong. It's about what you can prove. It's about being able to support and back your claims. Like, even I told you guys, I'm very into certain things, like in my personal life, like forensic files and criminal law and stuff like that. And there's people who they murdered somebody. We'll say, for example, a murderer on forensic files or whatnot. And they have all the circumstantial evidence and pretty much everything condemning them. So people know that they committed the murder. However, in the court of law, you have the burden of proving without a shadow of a doubt, prove what you're saying with evidence, documentation, testimony, etc. Right? I mean, this is common sense. So there's people that have been on trial for murder, but they just don't have that DNA evidence, that compelling evidence. Even though they have all this, like, oh, the bloody glove and this and all this evidence, like circumstantial, your alibi didn't check out and stuff like that. They need that compelling evidence. Like, we found the victim's hair strand wrapped around the axle of his tires in his car, or, you know what I mean? We found her scarf in his trunk. That's compelling evidence because that connects the dots. There's no way you should have a murdered victim's scarf when you didn't know them in your trunk. You know what I mean? Things like that. DNA evidence. There's no way your exact DNA, which is like 1 in 100 million, would be inside of this raped victim. You know what I mean? If you didn't, and you claim you never even met this person. Things like that. So again, as it relates to this, Top Rank and Oscar De La Hoya have the burden of proving what they say is factual. And the thing that's hard in itself, but this is the other thing I'm telling you. The Muhammad Ali Reform Act was initially created to protect the fighters who were getting wronged in situations, you know what I mean? That promoters can't act like managers and vice versa and all this and that. But what Top Rank and Golden Boy are doing is they're actually promoters who feel shunned by Al Haymon's actions, and their businesses are being impacted, which I told you, some people, oh, you're hating Ego. Their businesses are being impacted. Therefore, the promoters are trying to use the Muhammad Ali Reform Act as their blanket or their security to get $100 million, $300 million out of Al Haymon. Very hard to prove because, again, the Muhammad Ali Reform Act was really to protect the fighters who were getting exploited by their management. Pacquiao even went through this. I don't know if you guys remember, but early in Pacquiao's career, before Top Rank, he was managed by some other dude, and the dude was just doing all kinds of stuff. Pacquiao wasn't seeing his rightfully owed dollars, things like that. And I'm not trying to get too far off, but that's the whole premise of this. So you have the burden of proving what you say. And some people are like, oh, that's easy. even if you could see stuff with your eyes, if you really feel, and I'm playing devil's advocate here, even if you feel like, oh, I see Al Haymon is, you know what I mean? I have a video called Al Haymon is monopolizing boxing, but again, I'm not trying to sue him. So it's one thing to make a video and say like, I mean, I see the grand scheme. Al Haymon, he's on all these networks and he's acquiring all these fighters. I see all of that, but for you to go into the court of law and prove some of these claims, like you're paying boxers not to spar with fighters promoted by Top Rank, how do you prove that? Testimony. So if, like, let's say I'm a fighter and I was supposed to spar with Pacquiao, and then Al Haymon call, hey Ego, don't go spar Pacquiao, which is what Freddie Roach claimed. We're gonna pay you some money. How are you gonna prove that? You know what I mean? Unless you get the person on the stand, like, you know what I mean. Some people are just so noble, well they'll tell the truth no matter what. Cool, but I mean, if someone got paid off and did something that was kind of unmoral, I guess you could say, then you think you're going to be able to use them, call upon them as witnesses to prove that? You know what I'm saying? And I just don't even know how you would even know if someone's getting paid off. That all that type of stuff is kind of under the table, preventing Top Rank and other promoters from access to major venues. What are you going to do? You know what I mean? Because if you look at the lawsuit is basically saying that they feel Al Haymon is using, like, he has certain, basically under the table type of deals with broadcasting networks and venues and stuff like that. That's what it kind of sounds like. So again, how are you going to prove that Al Haymon is blocking the StubHub if you're basically saying that he's so connected that he's causing other promoters not to be able to use that because of his connections? You know what I'm saying? How do you prove that when, in essence, that means the StubHub or whoever the venue that you're talking to is also dirty? You know what I'm saying? So, like I told you guys, I like crime drama and stuff and mafia movies and documentaries, and like I'm a historian when it comes to stuff like that. And you look at Al Capone. They tried for years to get Al Capone. For years to get Al Capone. Elliot Ness, they had a whole squad and people trying to. Everybody knew Al Capone. Notice they both have the name Al and shit. But everybody knew Al Capone was doing dirt, that he was a criminal. There was nothing like hidden about it. You know what I mean? But again, proving and knowing or whatever is two different things. Like, so they eventually got Al Capone for tax evasion or some tax. He didn't pay his taxes or something. That was the least. I mean, this was the alcohol prohibition and stuff. He was doing far worse. He probably killed people and all this stuff. So this was the most minimal thing that he did do. You know what I mean? Out of all the crimes, if you look at his rap sheet, not paying taxes was minimal as opposed to taking someone's life, or, you know what I mean, illegally selling drugs and firearms and ordering hits and stuff like that. But again, they had to get him what they can get him with. So the burden of proof is on Top Rank and Oscar De La Hoya. And I don't know what evidence. I'm not diving in it myself. I don't care. It's not going to affect me. If Al Haymon goes bankrupt, oh well, my bank account looks the same. If Top Rank has to use all their resources to try to make this, Al Haymon's money is long. So, I mean, he's not like he's broke and he's going to have to settle out of court. And he has the right backers, Waddell and Reed, who are also being kind of thrown under the bus. It's just an ugly situation right now. You know what I mean? So I don't know what's going to happen. But all I do know is from actual knowing the legal system, they have to prove what you have to prove what you say. You know what I mean? And I see it being difficult to try to pin that. And you also have to look at it like this. Is Al Haymon Harvard graduate? He's been in the industry, like in the business industry. He's been in the music industry, then got into sports or whatever, right? Just to think him and Waddell Reed are just going to get caught with their pants down. I mean, good luck. There's a chance that this could happen, but I just have to see what evidence Top Rank and Golden Boy has. But I would just say any person who's been in the business, hopefully they're smarter. And even if they are doing dirt, this is what I'm saying. I'm playing devil's advocate. Even if they are doing dirt, you have to be able to prove that. And I think just like like I said, with the mafia and situations like that, the mafia oftentimes had a fall guy. They didn't have the underbosses and the main henchmen and, you know what I mean, the main like bosses, like the mob figures getting caught up and stuff. They have fall guys and henchmen who could do the time for them and stuff like that and pay off their families, or people who already were in jail to take the fall for, you know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, he killed this person 3 years ago, things like that. So, I mean, playing devil's advocate, it's a big commitment to try to prove that all these things that you're saying are happening are true, and that's just how I see it. I'm being as real and frank as possible. And see, this is the other thing. The last thing I will say, Al Haymon fighters love Al Haymon. Like, it's apparent. There's not really anything you can say. You can hate him as a fan, say, oh, he's not giving us this and that. But other guys have been coaxed to try to sign with other people, Adrian Broner, Keith Thurman, Peter Quillen, things like that. None of them have left. At one point in time, Amir Khan, Abner Mares, Leo Santa Cruz, they were still with Golden Boy. They hadn't really officially been like bought out or anything, right? And they made the conscious effort to cut ties with Golden Boy, who they had a long-standing relationship with, Oscar, Amir Khan, Leo Santa Cruz, Abner Mares, and they got bought out and went over purely to the Al Haymon side. So my point being is, where's your testimony and like your evidence that you're going to condemn this man Al Haymon with, when all of his fighters love him? You know what I mean? And then you look at Top Rank, you got Chavez Jr., who left, Mikey Garcia, who's been inactive since January 2014, and it's just turned July, right? So you got Top Rank people who are like fighters who are suing Top Rank, or were suing, or trying to get out of contracts and stuff like that. I think Vanes Matarosen was with Top Rank, and now he's with Al Haymon, I believe. Things like that. So it's like, how are you going to prove these things that you are saying? And case in point, Peter Quillen, right? He just did an interview with TMZ. So shout out to them. I will put the link in the description. And the caption reads, "You're lying about Al Haymon." So this is just after this news broke. And I'm going to read a direct quote from Peter Quillen. And this is what he said. Because in the Top Rank lawsuit, they list Peter Quillen and his situation with Jay-Z. And I'm not going to get all the way into it. I've done videos on it. But long story short, Jay-Z was trying to make a fight with Peter Quillen, who was the middleweight champion at the time. He had a belt, versus Matt Korobov, who was undefeated. And Peter Quillen vacated his belt and passed up. And then they end up making Andy Lee Korobov. And then Andy Lee upset Korobov. So people were like, why did Peter Quillen vacate? And then they think it had something to do with Al Haymon. So publicly, this is Peter Quillen's statement to TMZ Sports. Quillen said it wasn't true. I had just had a baby and my uncle was dying of cancer, and I wasn't in the right state of mind to fight. Al Haymon asked me if I wanted to fight and told me it was up to me. I made the decision to not fight, right? So, and he also said, if anything were to happen to Al Haymon, I would retire from the sport of boxing. So again, when you have that type of commitment and dedication from your fighters, it becomes increasingly hard. So in the Top Rank lawsuit, they cited the whole Quillen Rock Nation Sports example. But then you have the fighter who's being cited, and he's saying, hey, that's not true. Al Haymon never told me to do this. I was going through things in my personal life. My wife had a baby, and my uncle was dying of cancer. So I didn't want to fight. And he said it was up to me. So everyone wants to throw it on Al Haymon. And this is the thing. I'm playing devil's advocate. But I'm saying it doesn't affect me. If he's lying, he's the one that has to deal with potential perjury. But my point being is, if you're trying to sue somebody and you don't have the cooperation of the fighters, even like, you know what I mean? Who are you going to get? Who are you going to get to prove what you're saying? You're saying, oh, he blocked Rock Nation Sports, Quillen Korobov. And then Quillen saying, no, that's not what happened. I made the decision. And he's being the fall guy. So that's my point. Some people are like, oh, what are you? You're just taking his side. No, I'm not taking his side. I'm being as real as possible, and I'm being objective. If Quillen, again, I don't know if he's lying or if he's telling the truth. But this is his story. This is what he is saying has happened. And he hasn't said anything beyond that that disproves it. He never changed his story. This is his only story. So again, if you're citing this, it doesn't make sense. It's just like when Amir Khan said that, oh yeah, I could take a punch. I've been hit by big punchers and bigger men like Andre Ward, and then I never went down. And then Andre Ward sent out a tweet on social media like, no, we never sparred. That's the same type of situation this is. So Amir Khan he had a story that he put out publicly, and then the person involved in the story came out and said, that didn't happen. That's my whole point. So now, who's lying? You know what I'm saying? And again, if you're trying to sue someone, you have the burden of proving what you say is true. So I just don't know what evidence they have, and they might have all the evidence in the world, but from an outsider looking in, I don't know what they're going to do, especially when they don't have cooperation from anybody that I've really seen. Like, I've never seen anyone really go against Al Haymon and say, the only person I really seen go against him was Lucas Matisse, and he went to Golden Boy instead of staying with Al Haymon. That's the only person. Even people that left Al Haymon, like Andre Darrell, went back to Al Haymon. So you got Mayweather, you got everyone's buying. It's just like a police, like there's a murder scene. I'm from the Bay, so let's say Oakland, a bad neighborhood in Oakland, and there's a shooting. And if nobody is they're witnesses, but they're not testifying because they don't want to get retaliated on, or they don't want any type of retaliation or whatever, then that makes the police's job that much harder because nobody's cooperating. So that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying Peter Quillen's lying or he's telling the truth. I'm saying regardless, he's not cooperating, and what he's saying is not coinciding with what Top Rank is saying. So again, the burden of proof is on Top Rank and Golden Boy for this lawsuit. And that's what I'm trying to say. Some people are like, oh, you believe that? It doesn't matter what I believe because I don't care. I'm not even stating my opinion on if he's telling the truth or not. I'm saying if you don't have the person who you're citing backing you up, your job becomes that much harder. It's like if I'm cheating on my girl or whatever, and then she called, I'm like, man, call Mike. I don't care. Call Mike. I was at his house. And then she calls Mike and be like, oh, hey, was Ego at your house yesterday? And he's like, no, I ain't talked to him. Now I look kind of dumb because the person didn't back me up. That's what I'm saying. So it's getting ugly, man. There's a lot of allegiance and a lot of people. I just haven't seen many people go against Al Haymon, and that's as honest as possible. So Top Rank, they got their work cut up. I know Bob Arum has been in the industry a while. He's smart. He's a smart Jewish businessman. So, you know what I mean? He might have like some smart lawyers behind him. A lot of people know like there's a lot of famous Jewish lawyers and stuff. So maybe he has the best lawyers in the book, in the game or whatever. But I don't know. I'm just saying based on what they're claiming and what I've seen, I just don't see, I don't know what evidence they have. So it's all speculation, but based on what's done in the public, I just haven't seen anything that they can offer that is very compelling. You know what I mean? Who's testifying against Al Haymon? Who has a sour relationship with Al Haymon? Like you look at Chavez Jr., right? Chavez Jr. got knocked out and quit in his last fight, but he got over $1 million for that fight. And he posted, and he deleted it, but he posted his paycheck on the internet for a second, right? So my thing is, he left Top Rank and he got a huge paycheck with Al Haymon. So, I mean, I just don't know who's going to be in a real rush to, quote unquote, rat Al Haymon out. Like, oh, this is foul business practice. This is this and this is that. And I haven't really seen anybody turn on Al Haymon, so to speak. So you got to prove, in the court of law, you got to prove what you're saying. You got to prove, like, if I made a video, I'm like, oh, yeah, this person, he copied me. He stole my work. Then I got to prove that in the court of law. Like, I can't just say someone stole some shit, you know what I'm saying? Or this is my video and it's copywritten and he uploaded it. I got to be able to prove that. Like, hey, look, I posted it 4 days before him, and you know what I mean? Things like that. So that's kind of where it's at with the lawsuit. I want to give you guys the trial of Al Haymon, an in-depth look at what's going on. Again, this is all speculative. I don't know what facts Top Rank or Golden Boy plan to pull out. You know what I'm saying? They might have some crazy evidences or something that I don't know of. Obviously, you have to prepare your court case. I don't know. But based on what I've seen, I haven't really seen much where they can pinpoint Al Haymon and say, he rigged the sport. I know it without a shadow of a doubt. And that's what you have to do, unfortunately, in the court of law. So we'll see what happens. I'll follow the story. I'll give you guys updates. Make sure you like my video as always. Hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video, it's Ego signing off.